students, welcome back to my channel Kruda Educate. I'm back with another topic, the cell. This is going to help standard 8, 9 and 10 student. So basically in this topic we are going to cover discovery of cell, cell theory, cell size, shape, composition, cell structure, cell organelles, prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, animal and plant cell. The whole chapter I'm going to complete in three parts. The first part I will be considering discovery of cell, cell theory, cell size, shape, composition. In the second part I will take cell structure, cell organelles. And in the third part I will take prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, animal and plant cell. So let's start with the main topic, the cell. Cell. Cell has different meaning in different aspects. In chemistry and physics, cell is considered as batteries. But in biology, cell is considered as, from the name only you can say, living unit, because bio means life. So in biology, cell is a living unit. See, all living organisms are composed of tiny living units called cell. So, every living organism, we all humans, we all are living organism, plants are living organism, animals are living organism. All living organisms are composed of tiny living units called cell. They are tiny because we cannot see them. They are tiny because we cannot see them by naked eye. As we cannot see them by the naked eye, that's why they are the tiny living units, but they are living in nature. But in physics and chemistry, we consider it as a battery, but in biology, it is a living unit. The cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of life. It is the smallest living unit. All the fundamental functions start from the cell. Cell is the smallest part of the body capable of performing the essential functions of life on its own. Each cell is capable of performing its own function independently. It does not depend on other to perform the basic vital functions of the life. Okay, so to make it more clear, I would like to consider this. Cell is the basic building block of life. How cell is a basic building block of a life? So see, I had already told you that it is a living unit, tiny living unit. So first of all, our body is made up of a single cell. Then they will come together. Suppose it is a cell. Then they will come together and form a tissue. Number of cells from same origin then this will form the organ, and that is number of tissues together, and then the organ system, and this whole will make what? Body. So it is a basic building block. All this depend upon the cell to form a structural organization. Our body is a structural organization. So the cell, they combine together from the same origin, performing a similar function, are known as tissue. Then a group of tissue will combine together to form an organ, and then that organs will combine together to form the organ system, and this whole will come together to form the body, to form a structural organization. So all the structural, this whole structural organization depends upon the building block, that is cell. So that's why the cell is the basic building block of life, as well as it is the structural and the functional unit of life. It is structural and functional unit of life. Without cell, tissue cannot come, organ cannot come, organ system cannot come. So it is a fundamental structure and fundamental structure of life. On this only all this depend upon. But the cell in itself is independent to perform any function. It is capable of performing the essential functions. It is independent of performing the essential functions. To make it more clear, I will connect you with another example. See, suppose you have to make a building. For that you need a brick. For that you need a brick. Then number of bricks together. This number of bricks will together come, and what it will form? A wall. Then 4 walls. Then 4 walls from a different side is making what? A room. Now different rooms can make a building. Or you can say, now the different rooms can make different floor. So this brick, can we consider this brick as a cell? This wall as a tissue? And this room as an organ? And this different floors made by this room as an organ system? Now this brick wall room and the different rooms on a floor, they all can make a huge building. Can make a huge building like your school. To this, can we consider it as a body? A organizational body. So this is what the building block of life. I hope you all are able to understand what is cell now, how it is a tiny living unit on which all the organizational system depends upon. Okay. So after this, now we will move to the subtopic. Okay, before moving to the subtopics, let also clear what is tissue and what is organ. We will see what is tissue and what is organ. As I said you that number of cells together, suppose it is a cell, this cell together will form a tissue. So tissue is a cellular organization level between what? Between cell and organ. Cell and a complete organ. Because from the tissue, it will form organ. So it is a cellular organization level between the cell and a complete organ. But a tissue is assemblance of similar cell and similar cell from the same origin that together carry out a specific function. So a tissue is a cellular organization level between a cell and a complete organ. This is a organization level between a cell and an organ. And tissue is an assemblance of similar cells. The cells which are grouping together, the cells which are coming and grouping together should be of similar cell. Should be similar cell. If it is a cardiac cell, all the cells should have the capacity to perform the cardiac cycle and the cardiac functions. So it should be a similar cell. They should come from a similar origin. Their origin should be also the same and they should carry a specific function. Suppose it is a cardiac cell. So this tissue should be able to perform the cardiac functions. This will perform only the cardiac functions when it will come from similar cells from the same origin. Okay, so this is all about the tissue. Now the organ. This organ is formed the functional grouping together of multiple tissue. So the multiple tissue performing a similar function when they are grouped together forms a organ. So is it clear till here? Now we will move to the main topic, the discovery of cell. Discovery of cell. Cells are the tiny structure. Cells are the tiny structure which we cannot see by naked eye. Which we cannot see by the naked eye. So the discovery of cell came with the discovery of microscope. Discovery of cell came with discovery of microscope. Before this, the people don't know about the cell. The discovery of cell came with the discovery of microscope. Although with the advancement in microscope, organelles and cell structure become more clear. Advancement of microscope, cell structure and cellular organelles became more clear. So the cell is a tiny structure which we cannot see by the naked eye, and as we cannot see it with the naked eye, so the discovery of cell came with the discovery of microscope, and with the advancement in the microscope, cell structure and cellular organelles became more clear. Okay, so now we will come to know about the two scientists who discovered the cell. So they are Anne von Leeuwenhoek and Robert Hooke. In the first chapter, you might have been familiar with this name, Anne von Leeuwenhoek and Robert Hooke. So the discovery of cell came due to these two scientists, that is Anne von Leeuwenhoek is commonly known as father of microbiology. See, this Anne von Leeuwenhoek has a great interest in lens making. Great interest in lens making. So, once upon a time, through his interest, from which he has made a lens, he saw minute organism in the rainwater. Where did he saw that minute organism? In the rainwater. And to this minute organism, he named it as animalcules. He named it as animalcules because it was something looking like a animal. So the first scientist is Anne von Leeuwenhoek. He is also known as the father of microbiology. He has a great interest in lens making. In his free time, he used to make lens, and from his great interest of lens making, once he discovered a lens and saw in the rainwater a very minute organism which he was not able to see from the naked eye. That minute organism he was not able to see from the naked eye, and to that minute organism he named it as animalcules, because it was something looking like a animal, but he didn't give the term cell to this animalcules. He gave the term animalcules, he didn't give the term cell to this minute organism. Thereafter, another scientist came. The name of that scientist is, you are also familiar with this name from the very first chapter. The name of the scientist is Robert Hooke. In 1965, Robert Hooke, under his compound microscope, observed the thin slice from bark of a tree, that is cork. What he saw in this cork, when he saw this cork under his compound microscope, what he saw is this cork is composed of box-like structure. Composed of box-like structure, which are hollow. This box-like structures are hollow, and they formed a honeycomb-like structure. These compartments, these hollow compartments, form a honeycomb-like structure. To this hollow compartments which are formed a honeycomb-like structure, he gave it a term cell. He named it as cell, because this term cell has came from a Latin word cella, that means hollow, as came from a Latin word hollow. Cella came from a Latin word hollow. So, the another scientist was Robert Hooke. After Antoine Leeuwenhoek, he in the rainwater saw a minute structure and named it as animalcules. Then the another scientist came, Robert Hooke. He, in 1965, under his compound microscope, observed the thin slice from the bark of a tree, that is a cork. He observed the cork, and he saw that this cork is composed of box-like structure, and this box are hollow compartments. They are forming a honeycomb-like structure, and to this hollow compartments he named it as cell, and this cell has came from the Latin word that is cella, which means hollow, because they were the hollow compartment which he saw under his compound microscope. So here the discovery of cell came into existence. So we completed our first topic of today's lecture, that is discovery of cell. Now we will move to the second topic, and the second topic for our today's lecture is cell theory. So the second topic is cell theory. This is given by the two scientists, that is M.G. Sheldon and Theodor Schwann. M.G. Sheldon is a German botanist and Theodor Schwann is a German zoologist. M.G. Sheldon in 1838 observed and said that all plants are made up of cell. Theodor Schwann later in 1839 said that all animals are also made up of cell. Thereafter, M.G. Sheldon and Theodor Schwann, there comes another scientist named as Rudolf Virchow. Now, Rudolf Virchow in 1858, he is a German pathologist. Said that all cells arise from pre-existing cell. All cells arise from a pre-existing cell, and he stated it in Latin. In Latin, he stated it as omni cellula e cellula. So, the discovery by the Rudolf Virchow in 1838 that all cells arise from a pre-existing cell, which he stated in Latin as omnicellula or e-cellula, gave another additional dimension to cell theory. It gave an additional dimension to cell theory. So basically the cell theory was given by M.G. Sheldon and Theodor Schwann. In 1838, a German botanist M.G. Sheldon said that all plants are made up of cell. On the other hand, Schwann, a zoologist in 1839 later said that all animals are also made up of cell. But an additional dimension to the cell theory was given by Rudolf Virchow. Very later in 1858, he said that all cells arise from a pre-existing cell. And this together helps in formulating the three postulates for the cell theory. So the three postulates are: first is your all living organisms are made up of one or more cell. Second is a cell is a unit of structure and function. A cell is a unit of structure and function of all living beings. And the third one is new cells arise from pre-existing cell. So basically this 3 points comes under cell theory. All living organisms are made up of one or more cell. If it is made up of one cell, it is unicellular. If it is made up of one or more cell, it is made up of more than one cell, then it is multicellular. So unicellular, single cell is capable of performing the essential vital functions. Single cell is capable of performing essential vital function. Multicellular, they have different specific cells for different function. Different specific cells for different functions. So we humans basically come under multicellular. We have different cells for performing different function. These unicellular organisms are capable of performing essential vital function. What can be those essential vital function? Basically they are growth. This vital function is growth and reproduction. The basic essential vital function, the unicellular, a single cell will perform those two functions, growth and reproduction. But in multicellular organisms like we humans, different specific cells are for different functions. So this is the first postulate of the cell theory, that all living organisms are made up of one or more cell. If it is living organism, it had been made up of one cell or more than one cell. The second theory states, cell theory point states that a cell is a unit of structure and function of all living beings. It is a structure and functional unit. Without cell, the tissue cannot come. Thereafter, no organ system. So it is a fundamental structure and function unit of all living beings. Now the last point is new cells arise from a pre-existing cell. We all know that reproduction takes place. When there is reproduction, that means a new cell is coming. So from where does that new cell has came into existence? From a pre-existing cell. Suppose this is a parent cell. So when the reproduction will take, a new offspring or a daughter cell will come. From this parent cell, a daughter cell will come. Or we can say offspring. After the reproduction, it will come. Now, new cells. This is a new cell. We can consider it as a new cell. So this new cell has came from where? It has came from this pre-existing cell. The cell which was already existing there, from that by the process of reproduction, the another cell has come. That cell is known as the daughter cell and it is the parent cell. So this is a pre-existing cell. So the third point says that new cells arise from the pre-existing cell. That means the daughter cell will come from the parent cell after the reproduction. This is all about the cell theory. So here the second topic is also completed, cell theory. Now we will move to the third topic, cell size, shape and composition. So cell size, shape, number and composition. Cells vary in shape and size. They have different shape and different size. And this shape and size are in fact related to the functions they perform. So what kind of function that particular cell is performing, according to that, the shape and the size of the cell will depend. The functions they perform, according to that, their shape and size will depend. So first moving to the cell size. As we all know that cells are extremely small that we cannot see from the naked eye. If we want to see the cell, we have to go through the lens of microscope. Without microscope, cell cannot be seen because it is extremely small. It's extremely small and can be seen only when magnified through the lens of a microscope. Now, they are small and how its measurement is being made. So cells are measured in micrometer. This is also known as micrometer or also known as microns. Cell is measured in the units of micrometer, also known as micron. So now you can imagine that how small the cell is. Most of the cell lie in the range of 1 by 10th to 1 by 100th of the millimeter. 1 by 10th and 1 by 100th of the millimeter. See, 1 millimeter equals to 10 to the power minus 3 meter. That is equals to 1000 micrometer. 1000 micrometer. So now you can imagine that how tiny structure the cell is, and it can be extreme, and it is so extremely small, so extremely tiny that it can be seen only through the lens of the microscope. For example, this cell is mycoplasma. It is about 0.1 micron in diameter. Then the longest cell is our nerve cell. Longest cell is our nerve cell, vagus nerve in giraffe is about 3 meter long. Is about 3 meter long, and the largest cell is our ostrich egg. Its dimension is about 170 into 135 micrometer. So the largest cell is the ostrich egg. Its dimension is 170 into 135 micrometer. Longest cell is my nerve cell, and the vagus nerve in the giraffe is about the longest one, that is 3 meter long. And the smallest cell is the mycoplasma, that is 0.1 micron in diameter. Mycoplasma is a bacteria. So now the next one is our cell shape. The next one is our cell shape. Shape is more variable than the size. Shape is more variable than size. Both shape and size are variable, but they vary according to the functions and according to the functions they perform. But shape is more variable, vary more than the size. It can be spherical, oval, elliptical, spindle, cuboidal, polygonal, flat plate, and many more. The shape of the cell vary more than the size. It can be spherical, round shape, oval, elliptical, spindle, cuboidal, polygonal, flat plate-like. In many shapes it can come. For example, amoeba has a irregular shape, something like this. Amoeba has a irregular shape. Then Chlamydomonas Chlamydomonas has a oval or round shape. Oval or round shape. Oval or round shape. Whereas your this guard cells of the stomata, has a kidney shape like this. So the shape vary more than the size. Now the next point under the shape only is that shape is also related to functions they perform. Functions they perform. For example, nerve cell are long for communication throughout the body. Nerve cell is long for communication throughout the body. Then guard cells are kidney shaped. Guard cells are kidney shaped because they guard the opening. Because they guard the opening and closing of stomata. So for this reason we can say the shape is also related to the functions they perform. It is kidney shaped so that it can guard the opening and closing of the stoma. The nerve cells are long because they have a communication function throughout the body. Now we will move to the another one, that is the cell number. So the another one is the cell number. So on the basis of number of cells, organisms are divided into two. First is our unicellular organisms. Second is our multicellular organism. So the unicellular organism which have a single cell to perform vital functions. which have a single cell to perform vital functions. In that vital functions, it is growth and reproduction, which have a single cell to perform the vital functions, and the vital function is growth and reproduction. In the another one is our multicellular organism. The multicellular organisms have different cells to perform different functions, have different cells to perform different functions. So the example of a unicellular organism is our bacteria, then amoeba, and examples of a multicellular organism is our plants, animals, fungi, and many more. So here we have completed the cell number also. Now we will move to the cell composition. So the last one, cell composition. Cell composition was given by a scientist, that is J.E. Purkinje. J.E. Purkinje. He is a physiologist. He is a physiologist in 1839. He is a physiologist, and in 1839 he gave the term protoplasm. He gave the term protoplasm to describe the living fluid substance with present in the cell. He gave the term protoplasm to describe the living fluid substance inside the cell. Fluid substance inside the cell. Suppose it is a cell. It is a cell membrane. So the living fluid which is present inside, he termed it as a protoplasm. Now, inside the cell there is another round body known as nucleus. It is surrounded by a thin membrane, that is nuclear membrane. And inside the nuclear membrane, a jelly fluid-like substance is present, that is known as nucleoplasm. And this fluid-like substance is known as cytoplasm, and they both together is known as our protoplasm. So J. Purkinje in 1839 gave the term protoplasm to describe the living fluid substance inside the cell. So it is a fluid substance, whether it is a cytoplasm or whether it is a nucleoplasm. Both are the fluid substance. They are the living fluid substance inside the cell. It is called the living fluid substance because it is a life-giving substance. The life inside the cell is due to this protoplasm. This protoplasm is a life-giving substance. This protoplasm is a life-giving substance because life is possible in cell due to this protoplasm. Due to this protoplasm. And chemically the protoplasm is an aggregate of various organic and inorganic molecules such as protoplasm is an aggregate of various organic and inorganic molecules like about 75% of it is composed of water, carbohydrates, about 10 to 15%, proteins, about 2 to 10%, fats, about 1 to 10%, and our minerals, about 1%. So, protoplasm is an aggregate of various organic as well as inorganic molecules. These are maximum of it is composed of water, that is 75%, carbohydrate content is 10 to 15%, protein is 2 to 10%, fat is 1 to 10%, and minerals are about 1%. Apart from this, it also contains a nucleic acid. It also contains nucleic acid. Nucleic acid. They are basically of two types, DNA and RNA. So nucleic acids are basically the small biomolecules. They are small biomolecules to all known forms of life. Till now, how many forms of life have came into existence? All consist this nucleic acid. They are of two types, DNA and RNA. They are composed of nucleotides, and these nucleotides are the monomers of three component. One is your 5-carbon sugar, second is your this phosphate group, third is your nitrogenous base. See, the small biomolecules to all known forms of life is known as nucleic acid, and they are composed of nucleotides. Nucleotides are made up of three monomers of three components. They are 5-carbon sugar, phosphate group, nitrogenous base. On the basis of this sugar, they are defined as DNA or RNA. See, if the sugar is ribose sugar, If the sugar is ribose sugar, it is RNA. And if the sugar is deoxyribose sugar, then it is DNA. So this is all about your cell composition. So here we have completed all the 3 topics of our today's lecture. We will be continuing with the 2 more videos to complete this chapter. In that I will be completing your cell structure, cell organelles, prokaryotic, eukaryotic, and your plant cell and animal cell. Till then, go through this video and do watch the video till the end, and do like and subscribe my channel if you find the content very fruitful for you. Thank you.